And if you are going to be one of the few real disciples of Jesus, then you're going to have to fall madly in love with Jesus and probably out of love with a whole lot of other people. Now, I'm going to slow down right now. I'm going to say some stuff that's going to shock you. And so, let me just move in where angels fear to tread for a couple moments, okay? I'm well aware of the fact we're online. They'll be all right. And we'll probably get some calls. Y'all can answer them. I love how they walk out of my office. They're like, oh, he's not available. I'm like, yeah, you're exactly right, I'm not. But nonetheless, listen. Can I talk to you for a minute? Okay, I'll talk to everybody in this room just for a minute, okay? I'm talking as your pastor. I'm talking as your shepherd. And I want to be your friend, but I'm not talking to you as your friend right now. I'm talking to you as your pastor. So, I'm careful how I say this. Jesus said we got to get to a place where we are so passionately in love with him that although we manage to love other people in a right biblical way, there's really not only no comparison, there's just absolutely no competition in our hearts whatsoever because he is number one. I mean, he doesn't want the rest of your life. He wants the best of your life. He's not just Lord of a little bit. He's either Lord of all or he's not Lord at all, Philippians 2, 5 through 11. And so we got to get this thing straight. We got to understand this. So let me say this. Some of you are in relational bondage. You know why? Because some Southern Baptist preacher told you years ago, ma'am, that your husband can beat the crap out of you and you have to stay with him because the Bible says so. I said crap in the pulpit. That somebody can live around you with a crippling addiction and you got some kind of responsibility to stay in bondage for the rest of you. Oh, you got to hold on and love them. You better love God a whole lot more than you love that nonsense in your house. And I'm not telling you cut the ties, but I'm telling you, there's some of you in this room, you have held on to relationships that have destroyed you for years and years and years, and because of that, you don't even know how to chase Jesus because you've been trying to chase the approval of this person that has pulled you down for years, and you stay with them 5 more years and see what happens. Stay with them 5 more months and see what happens, right? Holding you back, holding you back, holding you back. All the time spitting on your dreams. All the time in a place in your life. And you're like, well, their addiction will get better. You said that 10 years ago and you're still not seeking God. We walked out of men's Bible study the other morning. You asked the guys that were here. I had to quit halfway through men's Bible study. I got so lit up. I was like, we got to pray. I let Buford pray. And I just said, we got to quit. I couldn't even read anymore. I was fired up. Was anybody in this room in the membership class the other night? We was in a membership class. I've done 30 of them things. I had to stand through the whole thing. The staff was like, dude, you got to sit down, man. I was like, ooh, let me tell you all about this church. I was all over the place, man. I feel like I'm hooked up to an IV machine. I'm telling you, it's just floating. Man, I'm seeing things written on the canvas of my heart I've never seen a day in my life. I walked into they're all in here. I walked in my staff meeting the other day, and I sat down, and I busted out crying. We had communion with the staff, and I busted out crying. I said, I'm going to tell y'all something straight up front. I'm broke as a joke. I'm broke as a joke. And I said, I'm going to tell you something right now because I love all of you. I said, if you hang out with me, you better expect some crazy brokenness. I said, so here's what we're going to do. They'll tell you. 8 of us sitting around the table. I said, I'll pay any of you right now 6 months in advance to walk away from this table and never come back to this church again if you can't handle where we're going. And all of them got up and left. Just kidding, but nonetheless. Are you kidding me? They all stuck around. Because they know I'm serious. They see something in me that's different. And when I say people see something in me that's different, I'm not some super spiritual Christian. I'm trying to be a reasonable servant is what I'm trying to be, Romans 12, 1 and 2. But when I finally got to a place, and it was a whole lot about that tree crazy thing I talked about 4 or 5 months ago, this whole process it showed me things I never liked about myself, that I never thought I would know about myself, that I would never understand about myself and about other people around me. It just began to give me a depth of spiritual perception because when I finally got to the place where I crossed the line and I'm like, all right, God, I'm sick of this nonsense in my life. I got to get rid of the fluff. I got to get rid of the puff. I got to get rid of the extra. I got to get rid of all this stuff. And I got to trim this thing down lean and mean gospel machine. And so help me move forward. And all of a sudden, God's like, well, let me see how serious you really are, son. And some of you, God bless your heart, you really think you're serious. But you're not willing to do what comes next. And that's why you've never really got to a place where you're like, all right, God, draw a line in the sand, I'm crossing it. What did Moses say? Who's on the Lord's side? You're either for him or you're against him. And some of you keep living in bondage. A guy came to my office the other day. I wouldn't dare tell you who it is. Guy in this church came to my office the other day. He'd been in there 10 times. I love him. Same problems he's been talking about for years. Same problem. Well, you know, my wife, she gave me another ultimatum. Got to do this, got to jump through this hoop, jump through this hoop. And I stopped and I was like, all right, look, I see things a lot clearly now before the first time we met. We've been talking about this for years, right? Yeah. Has he kept you in stitches for years? Yeah. Anything changed? No. Have you been able to chase Jesus for 3 years? No. You want to chase him for the next 3 years? Yeah. I said, get out of my office and call her bluff then. He said, I can't believe you just said that. Well, I'm holding the microphone. I did. And some of you think you're nervous now. You wait about 10 more minutes and you're going to be real nervous. Real nervous. Because listen, I'm done with it. I'm over the nonsense. I'm over the extra in my life. And I'm telling you, everybody that knows me knows I'm serious. And I'm not being mean. I'm not being a dictator. I'm not just walking around kicking folks out. Listen, I'm not going to make a whip and run you out of here. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to have to make a whip and run you out of here. But I'm just saying, we got to get to a place where we're serious. And some of you sitting here tonight and you're starstruck because you're thinking, that's what I want. I want the power of God. I want the presence of God. I want the process, no matter how painful it is. But you can't because you've got toxic relationships that you won't let go of in your life that's keeping you from doing what you know God's already called you to do. It's not worked for 3 years. It's not worked for 5 years. What makes you think it's going to work in 5 years from now? Because they keep saying one day, one day, one day. And God said it wasn't one day. It was yesterday. God had wasted too much time. God had wasted too much time. You know, let me say this. This don't have anything to do with what I'm saying. Kinda. There's stuff being downloaded into me so fast I can't process it every day. I mean, they're like coming in my office. They're like, would you sit down? I'm like putting earbuds in. I'm walking around my office and I'm just like, I'm pacing the floor. I'm talking on the phone, right? I can't even focus. I can't even hold a fluid conversation with people. I'm walking to the tree every morning, man. I'm getting there faster and faster every day. I ran yesterday in my blue jeans all the way out there. I didn't even need no running stuff. I just ran there in my blue jeans. I didn't care. I was like, whoa, got there quick. Run, Forrest, run. Man, I was getting after God. I know some of you are like, man, this cat is crazy. He has lost his mind. You better believe it. I have lost my mind because I've wasted far too much on Greg Locke when I should have been spinning my wheels for the gospel of Jesus Christ. And you know, for example, there's people in this room right now. And all you have is this pipe dream you've been smoking that, well, maybe one day it'll get better. How long do you have to say that before you realize God's been trying to help you the whole time and you have been walking away every single time that God has tried to offer you obedient help? You know what I'm sick of? I'm sick of marriages coming into my office being ruined by pornography. I've had 4 of them in the last week. 4 of them. And then guys say stupid junk like this. Well, I'll tell you one thing. My wife just has no physical affection for me. You think? You think? Let me tell you something about half the women in America. They've experienced abuse. And you think she's going to know you in the bedroom? Looking at some pipe dream of a woman that ain't even real? Airbrushed and fake as a rake? And you're like, well, my wife won't be intimate. You dirty rascal, she shouldn't be intimate with you. She ought to kick your tail out of the house until you get right with God. Sit around, wonder why your marriage is falling apart, and all you're doing is looking after somebody else's whatever. Well, I tell you, I just can't get close to my spouse. You know why? Because you can't get close to God. That's what your real problem is. You ain't got a spouse issue. You got a God issue. You don't have kid issues. You ain't got money issues. You got a God issue. You ain't got a cancer issue. You got a God issue is what your problem is. You need more of God because when you get God, everything else starts making sense. It starts making sense. And I tell you, there's just no sense. There's no common sense in the American church anymore, right? I'm trying not to lay across that table. I'm just telling you, there's just no common sense anymore. And people are like, oh, I want to serve God. I want to do what God says. But you do that through the mindset of this traditional thing that you've grown up in all of your life. And you think just coming to church every night again gets God off your back. I preach a lot. I don't want God breathing down my neck. You know, I don't want to do things just because I have to do them. I'm at a place in my life now where I just want to do stuff because I want to do it. I can't not go to the tree. I can't not read my Bible. I can't not pace the floors. I can't help it. I'm a nervous wreck right now. And I'm not talking about being a nervous wreck because I'm praying. I'm just a nervous wreck because I got so much computing through me. I'm watching that stupid clock up and I'm thinking to myself, man alive, I got not much time left, right? And I got so much to say. I ain't got out of the first verse yet. And I'm telling you, ever since this past weekend, well, them nursery workers do, but ever since this past weekend, you ever had things happen in your life so fast you can't even figure it out? Elijah going up in the whirlwind, right? Sometimes it's almost like, give me a minute to breathe, God. And then he's like, well, you told me you're serious? You've been laying around being lazy breathing for a long time. You said you're serious. Oh, yeah, I'm serious. Okay, then you just hush and let me stick it in you as fast as I want to. And I mean, I slept last night for the first time, and I couldn't tell you how long. I actually ate something today. Felt pretty good about myself. Barely, but I ate something. As long as I can preach through this whole message and not throw up, I guess that's spiritual progress, right? But food's not even good to me anymore. I got to eat to live, right? I got to sleep, I just fall plumb over.